Signs of a turmoil in the Northern Provincial Council. Accident in Nanuoya creates row among public. Deputy Minister Arundika accepts that he met Udayanga Veeratunga in Japan. Why was the Lotteries Board gazetted under the Foreign Ministry?
Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. I am Shamir Rasuldin.
And I'm Arundhati Mudannaik. Let's take a look at the stories in detail now. Anger erupted between the local residents and police in the Nanuoya town today following the death of a young child killed in a motor accident.
A 6-year-old girl was run over by a tipper truck around 7 this morning while she was on her way to school. The girl had been on the yellow crossing line when she was run over by the tipper truck. Area residents claimed that the police had intervened to move the tipper truck from the scene of the accident. Thereafter, when the tipper truck had turned around and returned to the scene, a group had set the vehicle ablaze. The group placed the child's body on the street and protested, demanding the arrest of the driver. Our correspondent said the group had damaged a few mobile phones and cameras which captured footage of the incident. Personnel of the Police Special Task Force and officers of the Nanuoya, Lindula, Agarapatana and Talawakale police stations were dispatched to the location to control the protesters. Following the magisterial inquest, the child's remains were taken to the Nuwara District Hospital with the intervention of the police. The girl was a resident of the Rodalla area and a student of the Nanuoya Sinhala School. Later this afternoon, the police said the driver of the tipper truck was arrested. Following the incident, the officer in charge of Nanuoya was temporarily transferred to the Nuwara police.
A group of relatives of missing persons engaged in a protest today by entering the sea off the coast of Trincomalee.
Relatives of missing persons from the Trincomalee, Batikalo, Jaffna, Kilinochi, Muleitivu and Vaunia areas engaged in the protest. They called on the authorities to ensure that justice is meted out to their missing loved ones. The protest launched by the relatives of missing persons calling on the government to locate the relatives entered its 100th day today. Sandhya Eknaligoda, the wife of missing journalist Prageet Eknaligoda, also took part in the protest.
Taking a look at our developing story for tonight, a conflict is brewing in the Northern Provincial Council following the decision taken by the Chief Minister to take steps against 4 members of the council accused of corruption.
Yesterday, the Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneswaran, requested the Provincial Minister of Education of the Northern Province, T. Kurukula Rasa, Provincial Minister of Agriculture, P. Aingaranesan, to resign from their positions following an investigation into corruption allegations levelled against them. The Chief Minister called on the 2 provincial ministers to resign after reviewing a report by an investigative committee appointed by him and called on 2 more members to go on compulsory leave. The Northern Provincial Council, which has 38 seats, represented the districts of Jaffna, Mana, Vaunia, Muleitivu and Kilinochi. The ruling party of the Northern Provincial Council occupies 30 seats, with the ITAC holding 15 seats, EPRLF holding 5 seats, TELO holding 6 seats, PLOT holding 3 seats and the National Front for Good Governance holding 1 seat. The opposition consists of the UPFA, which holds 3 seats, the SLMC, which holds 2 seats, the EPDP, which holds 2 seats, and the All Ceylon Makkal Congress, which holds a single seat. 21 of these members handed over a petition to the Governor of the Northern Province, Reginald Correa, last night, calling for the removal of C.V. Vigneswaran from the post of Chief Minister.
At the same time, the committee which he was appointed, not a legal one. And he has the right to appoint a committee, it is okay. It is not a legal one. The government officer can go on compulsory leave in their charges. For the political leaders and the ministers, there is no provision to send them on compulsory leave. Nobody can be appointed on behalf of them. He has no authority to do so, to send you on compulsory leave. Now I have received the evidence of the But in this letter, you didn't mention what are the reasons for your no confidence motion.
But here he had been constructively defining the party. That is okay. But this has gone beyond tolerance. In that, he has unnecessarily put the two ministers into inconvenience and conflict this way. And again, in the second inquiry that they are forcing them both to face.
Here, we have given our affidavits expressing he has lost the confidence of majority of members. He is no more enjoys the confidence of majority of members. So this is the point. Your Honor can call the incumbent Chief Minister to prove his majority.
12 out of the 15 ITAC members who hold seats in the Northern Provincial Council had signed the petition, which was handed over to Reginald Correa last night. When a no-confidence motion is handed to me, I need to check with each member individually whether they have signed willingly. I need to obtain affidavits from each member. Once that is done, if I feel that the Chief Minister does not have the majority to maintain the functions of the Provincial Council, I will inform this to him. I will inform the President of this as well. However, both the President and I can act only in line with the Constitution. A group of Northern Provincial councillors and local politicians who support the Chief Minister met at the residence of the Chief Minister in Jaffna today. P. Aingaranesan, who was asked to resign from his post as Provincial Minister of Agriculture, was also present at the occasion. In line with the Chief Minister's request, I gladly handed in my letter of resignation. I will continue to serve as a member of the Northern Provincial Council.
Attending an event in the Madirigiri area in Polonnaruwa, Janata Vimukti Peramana parliamentarian Cyril Handunatti commented on the no-confidence motion and the upcoming provincial council polls.
It has been nearly 2 years since there haven't been any public representatives at local government bodies. They have not held the election for 2 years. If the country can move ahead like this, then what is the point of having the representatives in local government bodies? The provincial council elections are also coming up. We can see no confidence motions popping up. There is one in the north, and there was one before in the North Central province. This might lead to the provincial council elections also getting delayed.
Deputy Minister Arundhika Fernando has admitted to have met with warranted former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udanga Weeratunga, in Japan.
Arundhika Fernando was seen in several images posted on Udanga Weeratunga's Facebook page during former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's recent visit to Japan. Weeratunga posted the images saying he would assist his friend Arundhika Fernando to improve Sri Lanka's tourism industry. Former Ambassador Udanga Weeratunga, who was warranted over the case pertaining to the MIG deal, also has a red alert issued against him for his arrest by Interpol. I met him at 2 functions in Japan. We didn't exactly meet. He also just happened to be at the same event. He had travelled to Japan legally. But what I can't believe is that while it is hugely spoken of that he is wanted by Interpol and so on and so forth, he continues to travel from one country to another. So when you meet a person like that at a function, you can't just drag him and hand him over to the authorities, can you? We can't take on the role of the police.
Did you not know that there was a warrant against him?
Yes, I did know, but I cannot tell him to stay away from me because there is a warrant against him.
Did you travel to Japan with the former president?
No, he had travelled there before me. I think him posting those pictures were wrong, which has led to so many issues now. I have not even posed with him in these photos. The pictures were taken during dinner and during coffee.
Journalists inquired into the meeting between Deputy Minister Arundhika Fernando and former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udanga Weeratunga.
He met me and said that it was by coincidence that the meeting took place. He also said that he would hold a media briefing to reveal everything. If I tell you everything that he said, then there will be no point in conducting that press conference. The President presented and the Cabinet approved a proposal to hold an aid summit. We expect to use the funds collected through this to begin massive projects as well to strengthen flood defences in order to provide a permanent solution. There needs to be a program to control the water of the Kalani, Kalu, Gin and Wallaby rivers at its source. The project to control the Kalu River will cost around $300 million.
American dollar million 300ක්වත් යනවා.
If we declare state of emergency, we will be able to obtain more aid. As a former Minister of Disaster Management, I know this as well. The donor countries will also be able to give us more if we do this. However, if we do this now, we will be giving a wrong political message. We could be accused of attempting to use a state of emergency for other means. It will impact our tourism industry as well. We are prepared for an election at any given time. During the next parliamentary session, we hope to debate the motion in this regard. Amendments can be suggested during this debate.
In the first of our police reports today, an escaped criminal was shot by police in close proximity to the Mayurapada College in Mavanala.
A police team had pursued the criminal while he was travelling on a motorbike. Police had opened fire when the suspect had attempted to throw a hand grenade at the officers. Police said the suspect is a prison escapee connected to a number of crimes and has several outstanding warrants against him. The 35-year-old suspect was identified as Bodhi Pakshage Manjula Prabhat from Aranayaka. He suffered gunshot injuries to both his legs. The Sri Lanka Motorcycle Association has released footage of a police officer assaulting a motorcyclist in Vattala on Monday. The association has written to the Human Rights Commission, the National Police Commission and the Inspector General of Police in this regard. 3 police constables attached to the Borella police were arrested and remanded for allegedly stealing a lightning conductor. They were produced before Colombo Chief Magistrate Lal Ranasinghe today. Previously, the OIC of the Borella Traffic Police and Sub-Inspector were arrested and remanded for the same reason. Investigations are ongoing over the assault on 3 youths by 2 police officers and 2 others in Kantale.
The report prepared by the Auditor General and sent to the Finance Minister on government securities was raised at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today as well. Newsfirst's Zulfiq Farzan, who has been constantly reporting on the proceedings, filed this report.
Auditor General Gamane Vijay Singh has said the report that was presented to the Finance Minister contained details that were given by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. However, he went on to note that he cannot verify the accuracy on how this data was gathered and compiled by the Central Bank. He went on to say that if the Commission requires for a more in-depth probe into the documentation and the data, he is prepared to comply with that request. However, he went on to note that he cannot vouch for the data that was presented by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The Auditor General said copies of the report were given to then Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake and the Central Bank. However, both parties are yet to reply on the content of the report. Accordingly, the Auditor General has recommended that direct placements be reinstated as a hybrid system. When questioned by counsels representing interested parties, the Auditor General stood by his decisions that his findings are accurate. Counsel Chanaka De Silva challenged the mandate mentioned by the Auditor General to audit the bond issuances, citing that the examples used were not representative of the period in question. At this point, the state opposed to the suggestion and noted that if COPE was not happy with the report of the Auditor General, COPE would have made an announcement on that. As COPE discussions were based on loss calculation, the Auditor General had decided that the removal of direct placements be used as the factor for the loss calculation. He reiterated that COPE did not oppose the factor that was used. The Auditor General added that the main focus of the special audit report was to calculate the loss incurred by doing away with direct placements. He affirmed there was no reason to give explanation for pros and cons as well as merits and demerits of the system. Counsel Chanaka De Silva brought the attention of the Commission to the Prime Minister's statement in Parliament on the 17th of March 2015, where he said that it was he who insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency. He said when the Prime Minister was making this statement, he was in fact the Minister who overlooked the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
The question still remains. Why was the Lotteries Board transferred to the purview of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Tonight we hear from the Minister of Foreign Affairs himself and JVP parliamentarian Sunil Handunethi.
The government must disclose why the Lotteries Board was given to the Foreign Minister. Well, if the government cannot, we will. It was given to him with the intention of covering up the theft at the Lotteries Board through the lottery tickets and during its printing. This is why the Lotteries Board changed ministries with the minister. If what we are saying are lies, Mr. Prime Minister, please tell us what is the reason.
කරවල හොරා කාපු බලලට උඹලකට පොල්ලෙන් ගැහුවා කිය. දැන් ඒකත් එදා තේරුම් නැත්නම් අද තේරුම් ගන්න කරවල කාපු බලලා කවුද උඹලකට පොල්ල මොකද්ද කියලා.
ඔය රුදාව තියෙන්නේ අදක්ෂයට.
The people who are screaming so much about this are those who cannot even accomplish the 2 or 3 little things given to them to do. It is the people who made these entities corrupt and wiped them out clean and left who have a problem about this. There was a particular person with a political motive before. He had a grasp on everything and everyone. A sum of 65 cents used to be paid to print one ticket, and now that has been reduced to around 25 cents. So it is only 2 or 3 ministers who are screaming about this. It is the people who have absolutely no involvement who are itching themselves about this. If they focus more on their own sector without peeping into other people's businesses, this wouldn't be an issue. This is the country's curse. It is also just jealousy.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe toured several areas affected by the recent floods.
A meeting was held at the Badurelia Divisional Secretariat. All divisional secretaries from the surrounding areas were also called in for the meeting, which was centered around the post-disaster recovery effort. For the first time in history, Sri Lanka was ready to face floods. I'd like to specially mention that it was because of the state employees. It is my responsibility to thank the state sector employees and the tri-forces on behalf of the government and the country. The Kukuleganga Reservoir should coordinate with its district secretary. We can rectify those errors. There was another error. We couldn't publicize this process because the media did not have access to these places. The media showed only the process of collecting the relief items. But that is okay. But leaving all the politicians aside, at least conduct a program to show the efforts made by the state sector employees and everyone else, or that will be an injustice to them.
We thank everyone who came forward to render their support to the Sirasa Shakti TV1 Sahana Yatra in whichever way possible. We salute the security forces and the Sri Lanka police for the rescue operations that they are carrying out.
The Prime Minister was in the United States when the citizens of this country were battered by the inclement weather. He returned to the island last Saturday.
A demonstration was staged in Colombo today in protest against the incident where 2 journalists were recently threatened by Minister John Amarathunga.
Representatives of several media organizations took part in the demonstration, which was held opposite the Fort Railway Station. The Free Media Movement and the All Ceylon Journalists Federation were some of the media organizations to take part in the demonstration, while representatives of Ceylon Teacher Services Union and the All Ceylon Peasants Federation were also present.
The government remains tight-lipped while John Amarathunga is threatening the media. We demand the government to tie up these mad dogs. If they can't, remove them from the government. We, the National Trade Union Centre, will always stand with our journalists.
Former Intelligence Chief, retired Major General Kapila Hendevitarana was grilled again today by the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division. Hendevitarana faced almost 8 hours of questioning about his involvement in arranging a multi-million rupee payment from a Jaffna-based satellite television group.
Former Intelligence Chief Hendevitarana was summoned over several monetary transactions that are investigated under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. He arrived at 8:30 this morning and left shortly after 5:30 this evening.
මේ පරීක්ෂණ පැවැත්වෙනවනේ. ඒ පරීක්ෂණය ඒක ඉතින් පොඩ්ඩක් පරීක්ෂණය වුණාම කියන්න. බලන්න ඕගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා පරීක්ෂණයක් තියෙනවා කියලා මොකක්ද කියලා. හරි. නැවත කැඳවීමක් නැහැ.
He was questioned by the FCID yesterday as well.
A look now at two key judicial proceedings that took place today. The Colombo High Court announced the decision to take up a case filed against former Minister Basil Rajapaksa. Now, this case will be held daily starting from the 13th November.
The minister faces charges for printing 5 million lit documents with an image of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa using funds of the Divi Nagama Development Department. This took place on the run-up to the 2015 presidential election. Former Director General of the Divi Nagama Development Department, RML Ranawaka, is another respondent in the case. Colombo Fort Magistrate issued an arrest warrant against Venerable Galagodatte Yanasara Thera for not appearing before court in relation to a case filed against him and 6 others. The case related to an incident where the suspects had barged into a media briefing taking place in a hotel in Fort on the 9th of April 2014. Colombo Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna pointed out that the law will be enforced equally to all and issued the warrant against the monk.
The Lanka Samasamaja Party convened a media briefing today.
I request the Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim and Burgher communities to not be deceived by these lies. We don't want to go through another war due to issues over religion. We request all of you to establish peace committees and be responsible citizens to prevent another war from taking place, because the government will not fulfill this task.
You're watching News First, and up next is a look at Action TV.
Residents of Dehikama in Ridhimalayadda gathered in protest yesterday after receiving word that a Singaporean investor will be arriving in the area on an inspection tour to commence a sugar production factory. The initial plan was to begin the sugarcane farms and the factory within an area of 149 hectares and then expand the farms to over 15,000 hectares. This plan was approved by the cabinet as well. According to the Mahaweli Authority, the land for the project, which extends up to 15,149 hectares, will be from the Ramak and Oya Special Economic Zone. Plans for such a sugar production factory were initially drawn up in 2006, even before the Special Economic Zone was gazetted. The project did not move ahead as the Chinese investor linked to the project backed out. If an agricultural activity is to be conducted on this plot of land, which extends over 15,000 hectares, the lives of residents living in 3 divisional secretariat areas surrounding this land will be affected. It is the government's responsibility to explain to the public exactly what will be taking place through this project. If this does not take place, it will be almost impossible to stop the people from forming a bad image of this project. One of the arguments put forward by the government for the creation of this sugar factory is that there is a need to increase the local production of sugar. However, this need did not arise recently. The annual demand for sugar in the country exceeds 700,000 metric tons. The country only produces around 80,000 metric tons of sugar. Sugar industry experts point out that the loss of the government's regulatory powers when privatizing the sugar industry in 1992 and 2002 led to the drop in locally produced sugar. The project, which will be named the Bibila Sugar Factory Private Limited, has no government oversight whatsoever. According to the agreement signed, the Singaporean investor has agreed to invest $152 million for the project in return for 88% of the company's shares. The local agent linked to the investor will hold a 10% stake, while the remaining 2% is split equally among the Mahaweli Authority and 7,500 farmers. Entering into such an agreement, which grants the Mahaweli Authority a 1% stake in the company when the entire project relies on 15,000 hectares of yet unused land with an existing irrigation network, will be of no use to the country. When considering the public-private partnership set up to relaunch the Kantale Sugar Factory, the fate of the Bibila Sugar Factory can be assessed. The foreign investor linked to the Kantale project has promised to invest $260 million for the first phase and a further $240 million for the second phase. The government's stake in the PPP set up for the Kantale Sugar Factory is 51%. The investor, who has to rebuild the factory and obtain the sugarcane plants for 17,000 hectares, has received a stake of 49% in the company. Can the people's stake in the Ramak and Oya Special Economic Zone, which came into being because of the publicly funded Ramak and Oya irrigation project, simply be disregarded? State Minister of Mahaweli Development, this is over to you.
Tilak, the gentle giant of Yala National Park, has died in what appears to have been a battle with another elephant. Wildlife experts are surprised as Tilak is known as an amiable tusker and no incidents have been reported of any hostile interactions with other elephants.
Believed to be around 60 years old, Tilak was possibly the largest and oldest tusker in the park. He was last seen by visitors early yesterday afternoon. His body was found later in the evening in the area known as Palatupatha in the Yala National Park by a park ranger. The veterinarian who performed the post-mortem examination ruled the cause of death as an injury to the upper part of the body.
තාගේ පපු ප්‍රදේශයට දකුණු පැත්තෙන් මේ ඉලටේකුත් කඩාගෙන උරස් කුහරයට බැහැලා තිබ්බ ඒ ගහව පාර එකෙන් උරස් කුහරය තුල මේ ලේ පිරීලා තමයි තාගේ මරණය සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබ්බේ. එතනම යතා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට යාල උද්‍යානයේ තුල කිව්වට මේ පළටුපාන ආසන්නයේ තමයි විශේෂයෙන්ම කලපුව ආසන්නයේ තමයි ජීවත් වුනේ. යාල ජාතික උද්‍යානයේ හිටපු දලපුටු ඇතෙක්.
Officers of the Wildlife Department removed the tusks of the elephant to keep them safe from hunters.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudarnayaka.
And I am Shamir Rasuldi. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Till then, take care and good night.